So UFC Fight Night Lewis versus Spivak is on this weekend, and this card is a landmine waiting to be blown up, man. I'm so nervous about this card. I'm either going to get them all right, I'm going to get them all wrong, or it's going to be something in between, but nothing in between those sort of three scenarios in this card. There's so many ifs, there's so many buts, there's so many whats in this entire card. It's going to be so tough, but here's my final preview and predictions. A couple of fight prediction changes from my original video, but this card is so sketchy, and I'm actually going to be picking Teresa to start off the card. I do think that she's going to beat Natalia Silva. I know everyone's picking Natalia Silva. I know how good Natalia Silva looked against Jasmine Vicious. I know, but Teresa, in my opinion, is just a prospect that you've really got to keep your eye out for because she's just really good. This girl beat Lucy Pudilova when she was 18 years old and when she was an amateur, and now she's gone on to have a 6-0 amateur career. She had 3 exhibition bouts in there, so I guess you could say their 9-0 amateur career. And she's fought really good competition as a professional. This girl is 4-0. Fighting a girl with a 9-1 professional record, even 3-0 fighting someone 10-7 with a lot of experience. She's getting first round finishes on the ground, but in my opinion, she's not going to be able to finish Natalia Silva. I think she's going to take down Natalia Silva and win by decision like she did against Maia and Maia. We have seen her reversed at times, which can be very concerning because I do feel like Natalia Silva might have the grappling to reverse someone like Blader, but I'm just going to trust Teresa to get on top of Natalia Silva. She's much bigger in the fight. She's 5 inches taller. She's got a reach advantage as well. I know Vicious is pretty big for 125, and Natalia Silva made it look easy, but I think that Teresa with her wrestling and grappling, I think she can get it done. And I think she can win a decision on this one here. So we move on as well. We've got another fighter, which no one's picking. I know that he's the underdog as well. The lines have flipped. I've got phony Garcia in this matchup here. I believe he is the underdog right now. And the reason is the level of competition, man. I know everyone's kind of going on about how good his wins on the Ultimate Fighter are. And to be fair, the win over Josh Bredenhouse is a really good win. But this KO win over Vince Murdoch has aged so terribly badly. I mean, I've never seen a win age even worse. Because recently Vince Murdoch got knocked down and submitted by an opponent with a 2-7 record. That is absolutely insane to me. And he lost to Chad Anhaliger, who I know has gone on to have some pretty good wins. But look at the wins, aside from the Ultimate Fighter. 0-12, 0-6, 0-4, 0-0, 0-2 as a professional in pro MMA fights. He's never beaten anyone with a winning record. And I know everyone's going on about how his wrestling's going to be good and he's going to wrestle Phony Garcia. But if you actually look at Phony Garcia's entire career before the UFC and before Dana White's Contender Series, this guy's whole career was spent wrestling. He actually had no KO wins on his entire record until he fought Joshua Weems. And you might say, like, how do you know this? How do I know that he's wrestling? Well, because I researched this fight a lot, and I think I actually ended up picking Phony Garcia to win a decision using the wrestling. I'm not 100% sure, though. And, yeah, he's a wrestler. Phony Garcia's entire career before he got to Dana White's Contender Series in the UFC has been spent wrestling. I'm going to trust him to at least have the wrestling to keep the fight on the feet. I think he might be the better striker. I think that Garcia should be able to win a decision in this one here. High stand, it's just too much too soon in my opinion. If he can beat Phony Garcia, maybe I'll change my tune and move on. Now, this fight here, I'm flipping my pick. I was originally on Vanessa Demopolis, and then I realized that, in my opinion, she lost to Jinyu Fry, and on that fight was spent entirely on the feet. So what I did was I realized that she lost to Jinyu Fry in a full-on striking battle, and Jinyu Fry just showed to have some of the worst striking defense whatsoever. And Maria Oliveira's striking is actually pretty good. Maria Oliveira, she has fought very, very low-level competition before she got into the UFC, which is scary. But I think she should be able to beat Vanessa Demopolis if she can keep it on the feet here. Demopolis, in my opinion, will have the grappling advantage if she can use that wrestling and get the fight to the ground, which is why I was going to pick Demopolis. But Demopolis just isn't good, man. Like, she's got a 62-inch reach. Oliveira's going to have a 7-inch reach over her. She's going to be a little bit taller as well. And Demopolis, she hits so much air, it's insane. And for some reason in women's MMA, hitting air gets you points, which is why she won the Jinyu Fray fight, because none of those shots that she was throwing were landing. Jinyu Fray outstruck her on the feet and won a decision, in my opinion. She got knocked down by Silvana Gomez-Suarez and then got the armbar kind of out of nowhere sort of thing. JJ Aldrich beat her, and before that, yeah, she was beating and losing to some pretty good competition on the regional scene, but Demopolis, for some reason, she's someone the UFC's trying to promote and push. I know she's like a commentator for some regional events. I don't really understand why, because she's got the personality of a 7-year-old and her voice is so annoying, but good for her, I guess. I think Oliveira should be able to piece her up on the feet and win a decision. Ooh, Ricky Tercios versus Kevin Natividad's a scary one, because Ricky Tercios, his striking accuracy in his fight against Ayman Zahabi was like 10%. That's literally, what am I doing? You were literally looking at Vanessa Demopolis levels of striking accuracy there. He threw like 96 punches in the third round, and 10 of them landed. I don't know what he was doing, man. It was scary, it was weird, it was just terrible. But Kevin Natividad, in my opinion, since he's gotten up to the UFC, he just hasn't shown up, really. Like, he was looking good on the regional scene. Pretty close fights with some guys, but he did knock out Kyle Estrada, coming to the UFC. Knocked out by Miles Johns, knocked out by Dinar Bakare. He got knocked out in his other third loss, so he's been knocked out 3 times. I don't think Tercios, if he shows up like he did against Zahabi, he's going to knock him out. But I think that Tercios should be able to win a decision. This is terrible. This is the Ultimate Fighter Season 30 champion, by the way, and he just lost to Ayman Zahabi, and Ayman Zahabi's first fight in like 2 years. Weird and scary. But not trusting Tercios when picking him. Miles Johns versus Vince Morales. I know this is a somewhat short notice fight. Originally it was meant to be Jose Johnson versus Vince Morales, and I was going to pick Jose Johnson to get like a highlight reel KO and promote himself and become like a pretty likable fighter, but unfortunately he's had to pull out, so now we've got Miles Johns, and I think Miles Johns is either going to win by KO or decision here. Vince Morales is a good wrestler that fell in love with his hands. He got a couple of KOs. I guess he beat Draco Rodriguez, but he KO'd Lewis Smolka, but at this point quite a few people have done that now. And Miles Johns, he's pretty explosive. He has lost a couple of fights in the UFC, but he still looks good. He's still got good wrestling himself. As I said, he is explosive. So if he's going to get a KO out of nowhere, or if anyone's going to get a KO out of nowhere, it should be Miles Johns. And I think they should be able to out-hustle him to a decision. Maybe he loses the third round, but I think he's at least going to win the first 2. Once again, it is somewhat short notice, but I think that Johns should be able to get the win in this matchup here. Jennifer Maia taking on Marina Morose. I'm going to be going with Jennifer Maia here. She is a very slight underdog, and I am a little bit nervous about picking her. But what it comes down to is the level of competition that they both fought. Jennifer Maia, this is a massive step down in competition, and for Marina Morose, this is a big step up in competition. Jennifer Maia, her last 2 losses are to Manon Fiorot. Arguably could get a title shot right now. Caitlin Chukagian is pretty close to getting a title shot, probably. Jessica Ai, she beat, who isn't that great, but it's still Jessica Ai. She was ranked at the time. She lost to Valentina Shevchenko in a fight which she won a round with her grappling, and she beat Joanne Wood, which isn't a well-aging win, but at the time that was pretty good. Marina Morose, her last 3 wins are Sabina Mazo, who I don't think's in the UFC anymore, Mayra Bueno Silva, who literally only has Muay Thai, and Marina Agapova, who once again only has striking. She's got no skill on the ground whatsoever. I know Marina Morose has like a national Masters of Sport in boxing or something like that, but she wins her fights on the mat, and Jennifer Maia is a pretty good grappler herself. I feel like it's just a big step up in competition for Morose, and I think that Maia should be able to kind of win just because she's got so much experience against high level competition. So I'm going to go with Maia here to win a decision. I'm not that confident in it, but I think that she should be able to beat someone like Marina Morose here. Zelga Shemekilov taking on Charles Johnson. I've got to go Charles Johnson here. I think Zelga Shemekilov ain't that great, and Charles Johnson in hindsight had a pretty good performance against Muhammad Makayev. This guy was beating him up on the feet and he was out hustling him in the clinch, but Makayev was just getting so many takedowns and getting so much control time against Charles Johnson. You have to give the fight to Makayev, but Charles Johnson was having moments, and I think that he's going to get a lot more moments against Zelga Shemekilov. Yes, Zelga Shemekilov likes to use a somewhat similar style. He likes to use the clinch, and he likes to kind of outmuscle and outpower his opponents. But I think that Charles Johnson's going to be smart to that. I think Charles Johnson's the much better striker out in the matchup. He's got a little reach advantage as well, which he's going to play well. Charles Johnson's a really good Muay Thai striker. I think he's going to knock out Zelga Shemekilov in this matchup here. I know he had a pretty close fight with Jeff Molina, but I still think you've got to go Charles Johnson. This guy's underrated, and I think he should be able to win this matchup. So give me Charles Johnson to win by KO. Maybe decisions on the card, but I'm actually going to say Johnson's going to get a knockout in the flyweight division. Jack Della Maddalena now taking on Danny Roberts. In my opinion, Jack Della Maddalena is going to knock out Danny Roberts. in the first round. He's a massive favourite though, and Danny Roberts is pretty good. Maybe Danny Roberts at this kind of odds is somewhat of a live underdog, but the reality is Danny Roberts, his chin is just no bueno. It's scary. Danny Roberts, he robbed Ramazan Emeev, maybe one of the worst robberies of the year. Lost to Francisco Trinaldo in a fight where Francisco Trinaldo would literally land little tapping shots on Danny Roberts, and Danny Roberts would go, like, this guy, his chin is done. He cannot take any shots in the head. He got knocked out by Michel Pereira by a flying knee. Lost to Claudio Silva by armbar. But man, every time this guy gets hit, he's stumbling. He's walking around. And I think that Jack Della Maddalena, he's got power in the hands and he's got good technique. And he's going to land clean on Danny Roberts' chin, in my opinion. I think Jack Della Maddalena is going to knock out Danny Roberts in the first round. He knocked out Ramazan Emeev in the first round. He knocked out Pete Rodriguez in the first round, who took the fight on short notice. And he looked pretty good against Angelusa on the feet. I'm going with Maddalena to win by KO in the first round. Muslim Salikov taking on Andre Fialho. I'm going to be going with Andre Fialho here. I believe he is an underdog right now. But Muslim Salikov, in my opinion, he's getting old. He's not looking amazing anymore. I'm actually doing pretty good on Muslim Salikov picks since I've had my channel. I picked Li Jingliang to knock him out, and when that happened, I picked him to beat Francisco Trinaldo. I didn't have a YouTube channel when he fought Alizé Zaleski, but for someone that's so old, he's fighting not very often at all. You know, he doesn't have much time to make something happen in his career. And you look at Andre Fialho, this guy's fought 5 times in the last year. He's fought 3 times in the last 6 months for the UFC. And in that space of time, he fought 3 times in 2 months. And I feel like the weight cut kind of got to him. And he didn't, it's not like he looked bad against Jake Matthews. Jake Matthews just looked amazing against him. Andre Fialho's a very simple fighter. He's a boxer, and that's kind of it, you know what I mean? And Muslim Salikov, he's a good striker. He does have kicks, and I think that Andre Fialho's going to box him up, man. I think he's going to catch Salikov and get a KO at some point in the fight. I feel like Muslim Salikov, man, now that he's 38 years old, almost 39, he's going to start slowing down, and we're going to see a young guy like Andre Fialho capitalize on this opportunity, man, because he fights so often. I love Andre Fialho. I'm a big fan of him. He's a very, very basic fighter. All he has is boxing, to be honest, but he's got KO power, and he can find the chin of Salikov, in my opinion, so he's going to get a KO. We move on to the main card. This is a sketchy fight, because Waldo Cortez Acosta, he fought like 2 weeks ago, and in that fight, sorry, I was waiting for my thing to load. In that fight, his legs were getting chopped up to pieces. So have his legs like recovered from getting chopped up? Like, has the bruising gone down? Has he been able to train? You know, this sort of thing. Like, he hasn't really recovered. And Chase Sherman is also stepping in on somewhat short notice. Chase Sherman was actually meant to fight on that card a week and a half ago at the time of recording, 2 weeks ago when they fight. And his opponent, Josh Breezing, pulled out. I was picking Chase Sherman to win the fight. I'm picking Waldo Cortez Acosta to win this fight. Both guys are primary boxers. I know Chase Sherman can throw leg kicks every now and then, but at the end of the day, Chase Sherman's also a primary boxer. Waldo Cortez Acosta's a primary boxer. It's going to be a boxing fight in an MMA cage, really. And in my opinion, Waldo Cortez Acosta is the better boxer at this point. Waldo Cortez Acosta, a lot of people thought that Jared Vanderaa might have won that fight, which I think is kind of crazy, but when it comes down to the boxing in that fight, Jared Vanderaa was landing leg kicks for days, I'm well aware. But when it comes down to the pure boxing, Cortez Acosta was dominating Vanderaa. Vanderaa wasn't really throwing any strikes to the head. And Chase Sherman, when he was fighting Vanderaa on the feet, it was getting somewhat competitive. And I'm just thinking that Waldo Cortez Acosta, what I saw him do against Danilo Souza, he took Danilo Souza into a brawl, won the brawl, ate some heavy shots. Like, we're talking about like an iron chin on Waldo Cortez Acosta. Danilo Souza was throwing bombs, he was throwing heaters. Cortez Acosta was taking them all and was throwing back, and he ended up wearing down Danilo Souza and got the knockout in the first round. I think these heavyweights are going to brawl. I think they're going to bang in the first round, and I think Waldo Cortez Acosta is going to catch Chase Sherman and get a knockout in this one here. I don't know what Cortez Acosta's ceiling is, because when I say this guy only has boxing, he only has boxing. That's literally it. I said that before his Dana White's Contender Series fight. I said that before his UFC debut, and I'm saying it now. I don't know if Cortez Acosta is going to make like a crazy run in the UFC, but I'm telling you, man, all this guy has is the boxing. Chase Sherman's kind of a similar situation. It's going to be a fun one, but I'm going with Cortez Acosta by KO in this matchup here. I like Sherman, though. He's a savage. He takes hard fights on short notice, so good for him. but I've got to go with the Costa as the prospect. Ion Kutalaba fighting Kennedy Nzechukwu. I'm seeing people pick Kennedy Nzechukwu. I still can't trust this guy. You know, I picked Kennedy Nzechukwu to beat Carl Roberson. I picked him to beat... No. I'm doing good on Kennedy Nzechukwu picks. I'm doing real good. I didn't have a YouTube channel around this time. I think I had a YouTube channel around this time, but I can't remember if I picked him. But I picked him to lose to Daun Jung. I picked him to lose against Nikolai Nagumarianu, and I picked him to beat Carl Roberson. And now I'm going to be picking Ion Kutalaba to pick Nzechukwu. So this is a weird one, I know. Ion Kutalaba, in my opinion, is just one of those guys that hasn't made any improvements like for a while, which is weird because he's not even 29 years old, but he's kind of fighting the same as he did a few years ago, you know, when he was fighting Magomed Ankalaev and going crazy in the first round, and then he went crazy in the first round against Justin Jacoby, and got a 10-8 in that fight, and then lost the next 2 rounds. He beat Devin Clark, dominated him in the first round, lost in the last 2 rounds, won the last 2 rounds, no. He won the fight anyway, but he dominated the first round, is the point. Went crazy against Ryan Spann, got caught. Went crazy against Johnny Walker, got caught, and I think it's just going to get crazy against Kennedy Nzechukwu, and I think he's going to get a KO. Like, Daun Jung landed an elbow that Kennedy Nzechukwu saw coming and blocked, and he got KO'd by it, which is weird. I still get a little bit scared about that one, so I'm going with Ion Kutalaba first round KO. Not confident in it. I don't really like the pick, but I'm picking it. So Derek Lewis versus Sergey Spivak to your main event, and this is another pick which I don't like whatsoever because I just know I'm going to look dumb either way, and that's just the truth. If I pick Sergey Spivak to win this fight, Derek Lewis is going to knock him out in the first 2 rounds. It's just going to happen. If I pick Derek Lewis to win this fight, Sergey Spivak is going to take him down at will and win by ground and pound within 3 rounds. I am picking Sergey Spivak to win this fight. I think he's going to win. I think he might make me look dumb, though, because he was having a competitive striking fight with, where is he? Alexei Olenek only a year and a half ago, which isn't good. He lost to Tommy Aspinall, but that happens. He took down Greg Hardy. I picked him to win that fight, ground and pounded him out very quickly. Everyone loved that. He took down Augusto Sakai in the second round, I believe it was. He finished him by ground and pound, or was at the very end of the first. My memory is failing me big time when it comes down to this. And it was the end of the second round, so I was right the first time. Why did I doubt myself? I literally watched that fight yesterday. But anyway, Derek Lewis, he's a one-punch guy, and he has been for a while. I know he's been taken down in the past, and then all of a sudden he just kind of stands up. There's YouTube videos of this literally happening. Derek Lewis is getting taken down in the UFC. He's on bottom. He rolls forward and then just stands up. It's so strange. The thing is, if you do that against Sergey Spivak, I think Sergey Spivak is actually going to chain wrestle you and take you down again. And I'm expecting that to happen. I think Sergey Spivak is not going to play the striking game with Derek Lewis, and he's going to go for takedowns, and he's going to grind him up against the cage, make him tired, because Derek Lewis doesn't have the best cardio in the world. And when it comes down to the 3rd round, maybe even later than that, Sergey Spivak is going to be very dominant in the grappling because Derek Lewis is so tired, and he's going to get a ground and pound TKO. I'm saying 3rd round. You know, like, you look at the Derek Lewis versus Mark Hunt fight, those boys were slanging leather, and they were getting tired really early on into the fight. Where is it? It was somewhat recent, wasn't it? No. Okay, so Mark Hunt. So in 2017, I watched this fight live, by the way, and Mark Hunt and him were throwing leather, and they were both getting tired early on into the fight, and we're just not seeing the best cardio out of Lewis. We're not seeing the best chin out of Lewis either, but I don't think it's going to matter. If Sergey Spivak knocks out Lewis on the feet, I will be surprised. We've seen Lewis knock out wrestlers before, though. He knocked out Curtis Blades with that brutal uppercut that put him out cold. Sergey Spivak might get scared in front of Derek Lewis, like he might be like a deer in the headlights sort of thing. He'd be like, oh man, this power is coming towards me. And maybe he gets tentative, maybe he doesn't want to shoot for takedowns because he's worried about an uppercut, but I think that Spivak's going to be able to take him down and wear on him. I think it just comes down to the fact that Derek Lewis's best days are behind him. He's always going to be an exciting fighter, but I feel like he's someone that if you want to see him get crazy KOs and like build his name up again, I know he's getting old, he's probably going to retire somewhat soon as well. If you want him to get crazy KOs, I feel like you don't put him up against Sergey Spivak. I feel like this is a Sergey Spivak versus Derek Lewis kind of coming out party for Sergey Spivak for him to make a big name. Because I genuinely believe if Tommy Espinal was still around, maybe he would be fighting Derek Lewis in the spot where he would have fought Derek Lewis instead of Pavlovich, sort of thing. Yeah, I think Spivak should be able to get the job done here. Sergey Spivak will get the job done here, and it will be like a name value increase for Spivak. But people will say that Derek Lewis is washed, sort of thing, even though Derek Lewis is somewhat fighting similar as to what he was a few years ago, but he's just getting chinned early. He got chinned by Taito Ivasa. I mean, that was a war. And then Sergey Pavlovich was super aggressive, knocked him out in the first round. It'll be interesting to see if Derek Lewis can make something happen here. He does have that power that will finish Sergey Spivak with one punch. But I'm going to say Spivak is going to grind him out in the first 2 rounds and end up winning by 3rd round TKO. I'm nervous about it. I'm not that comfortable. This whole card is sketchy, but I'm going to leave it there. It's a sketchy card. I'm going to make a what's on sort of video tomorrow, and then I might make like a video about like the best prospects in action this week, sort of situation later on in the week. Let me know what you think, and I appreciate any comments that I get. Thank you very much for watching the